Welcome to Yes Also. I'm Suzi Barrett, and my guest today is living improv legend Miles Stroth. Miles, of course, founded the Pack Theater in Los Angeles, but he has a long and storied improv history. He was a member of the legendary I.O. team The Family, previously The Victims Family, and he's the absolute GOAT at two-prov. He's, of course, one half of Heather and Miles that he does with Heather Ann Campbell, and one half of Zumpf with Dan Bacadal. This episode is unsurprisingly chock full of wisdom and also wild stories from the golden age of long-form improv in Chicago. And part 2 closes with one of the craziest accounts of a show I've ever heard that I had never heard before. Part 2, of course, is accessible by going to yesalso.supercast.com. And if you like this episode and the gift that Miles has for cutting through the crap and breaking things down in a non-pretentious, easy-to-understand way, you can check out his classes at the Pack Theater. He still teaches there. Go learn from one of the best. And also go check out their shows. All right, here's Miles Stroth.
Miles, what's that?
That's my. It's a vapor. It's a vape.
Oh,
I had to quit smoking. So
now you're vaping.
Yeah, now I vape.
Yeah, so you just changed verbs.
It's like I'm a health nut.
Yeah, it is. You're basically adding years to your life by inhaling a different type of vapor.
It's like I'm an Olympic athlete.
Yes. It's such a treat to have you on here. You're such a big part of my improv history and also of improv history in general. Yeah, we can start wherever you want. I kind of want to know, like, where did improv enter into your life story?
Oh, I was like sort of a rotten student in high school, so I barely graduated high school. Wasn't going to college. I think I eventually did 2 years of my undergrad just to sort of see what the fuck was going on. But then I dropped out because I was like, that's enough of that.
Yeah.
I wanted to find something to do because I was just working shitty jobs.
What was the school thing? Because you are so brilliant. Was it that it was just too boring the way they were teaching it? Was it the sitting in a desk? Like, what was it?
It's hard to know when you look back on your youth, like, what the hell was wrong with me? It's like, basically, I just didn't go to class. I mean, most of the classes that I failed in high school was just because I didn't go. I probably did A-B work, but if you don't attend a class, they just fail you.
Right.
And so I just skipped a lot of high school. Just didn't go. So I graduated with a 1.67.
Oh, wow.
Well,
you got over a 1.
In the top 75% of my class, so proud of that.
Yeah.
I wound up doing 2 years undergrad at DePaul. And that was because I used to go to this deli in Oak Park where it just I wound up sitting with this table of guys. They were just like brilliant men, in their 40s at the time, and I was like 17, 18. I'd skip school and go there. And these guys were all like, they got their masters and their doctorates. And I'd sit there, and that was my education for a few years. And then eventually I asked one of them, I was like, what's the point in going to college anyway? And he said to me, he's like, Miles, why do you study math? And I said, well, because you need math. You got to make change, just basic things in life, you need math. And he said, you study math because it maps over the universe. And I was like, oh, okay. Yeah, that's better. That's a better answer.
That's a better answer.
So I'll go to college and see what that's about for a bit. So I went for a couple of years as an English major. It's funny because I couldn't apply because I had never tested, and my GPA was shit. And I just went to DePaul as a non-degree seeking student, which you can do. My plan was I'll just finish everything required for my degree and then I'll apply.
Right.
What are they going to do? It's just like, no, you can't do this. I just did it. I'm just applying now. I've already done it. Just give me the diploma and leave me alone. But I finished 2 years and said, all right, screw this, because it wound up being not a great English department. And one of the guys who was friends with one of the guys at the table was the dean of poetry at the University of Chicago. So these guys are loading me, to the teeth with ways to tear apart these teachers at DePaul.
Yeah.
And I was, enjoying that. But eventually I stopped that. And then I was just like, well, what the hell am I going to do? I performed in high school in like the musicals and plays. And I was like, that was fun. And I went on a date down to Second City and saw the main stage show. And I saw the one with Pasquesi and Farley and Murray. I remember there was a moment in the show where Pasquesi did something that just struck me as just so cool. He was just asking for a cigarette as like a homeless guy. And he just going like, and I was in the audience, in my mind, I was like, that's what they fucking do. That's exactly what they fucking do. But for some reason, it just so struck me. That little thing, I was like, I want to try this. And so I figured out about the Players Workshop, and I went and did that for a bit.
And how was your experience there? Did it kind of light you up right away, or was it a slower paving of the road than that?
The Players Workshop, God bless them. How was my experience there? At the time, it was fine. I had no idea what I was doing. So I'm just coming in, and I'm like, all right, I guess this is improv because I've never done it. And here I am in the Players Workshop, which is associated with Second City, apparently. And it seemed fine. I was there for about 6 months. As far as I knew, it was fine.
Yeah.
Looking back, I think it was garbage. But at the time, I don't know.
Right.
I've never done it before. But I remember I was there for like 6 months, and then I broke my legs. Like I was hit by a car, it shattered both my shins.
Oh, my God.
I was laid up for like a year and a half. And so when that was done, I said, I just kind of had a thing in my head. I was like, I don't want to go back to the Players Workshop. I want to skip that and go directly to Second City to their training center, which you have to audition for. And I'm like, I think I can get into that. But I had to get it's funny when you look back at it, I had to get my high school drama teacher to write me a letter saying that I was capable of basic drama and I should be allowed to audition for the Second City Training Center, which he very kindly did.
Right. He can speak out loud. He doesn't mind standing in front of people. Like, what is...
Who knows? I mean, but he was a great guy. His name was James Eitram, and he was a great teacher, just a lovely person, and he was more than happy to help me out. Because it's a pain in the ass to have to write some letter like that.
Right.
But I get it, and I go down there, I got my papers. Let me audition. I remember the only thing I remember about that is I auditioned with Dratch.
Oh, awesome.
And she didn't get in.
Hilarious.
Yeah, and I'm just like, all right. 'Cause again, I don't know.
Right.
I'm at that point in my life, and I guess
these are the people of authority. They're the ones sitting behind the table, so they must know who's talented and who's not. That's what that table says.
Again, if you don't know anything,
yeah,
moving through the space for 20 minutes is great. Yeah, I can do this. I can walk around like the room is full of Jell-O, and then like the room is blue.
Yeah.
I can do this. I can spend 20 minutes petting an invisible animal in front of me.
Yeah. Apparently, Dratch couldn't. And you know what?
That was the Players Workshop.
Oh, gotcha.
Those were my lessons at the Players Workshop that I recall. I don't recall. I remember doing one scene in 6 months at the Players Workshop.
In the entire 6 months. The rest was just exercises and here, pull this string. And
there's a lot of the really old, swollen games. And again, I don't know. So I'm like, all right, this is great, I guess. I guess I'm slowly progressing in improv because I'm learning to do these weird things.
It beats taking English from a teacher I don't respect. So yeah, sure. Yeah. I'm holding a balloon. Look at me.
It was mainly it was fun enough, and then you go out after the class and everyone goes drinking, and it's like this is a fine time for like a 20-year-old.
Right. When you got into Second City, then did you like those classes better? When did you start really getting fed and feeling like, oh, I love this and I could do this and I don't want to stop doing this?
Not at Second City. I was in their classes, and I was in a good class as far as a group of people, for the most part, that I went through with. But the classes themselves, it was mostly just using improv to create sketch. Because again, I don't know anything. And the improv being taught was what was being taught back then, which to me now is overly simple. to the point of being insulting. And it's amazing to me that it wasn't figured out sooner, what we know now. So again, the teachers were nice enough people teaching what they knew in the way they knew how to teach it. And clearly they've had success over there over the years. But when I looked back on it, I was just like, hey, those weren't very good classes. The shows were fun, and some of the teachers were like super nice guys. It didn't take off for me until I got to the Improv Olympic and I got on a team. It really sort of solidified for me in a moment. I was put on a team too early for my thinking, but that was done because I could sing. And Sharna loved singers, and they used to open the show with this game called Musical Option, and I could do that, but the Herald I didn't understand, and it moved way too fast for me. I was just like, I didn't know what was going on. I remember one night, because they're all just great guys, and again, now we're talking about a group of just really great people that I've known since then. But I asked Susan Messing, if any tips or whatever. And what she said to me was, the first thing you have to decide is that you belong. And she kept talking and I stopped listening, which is terrible. It's a terrible thing. But the thing is that in that moment, that struck me so clearly for what it meant to me, that I belong. And for what that meant to me was, I get to come back next week, no matter what. I can suck as much as I suck, and I get to come back next week and try it again.
Yeah.
And I knew immediately, it's like, if I do that, it's inevitable that I'll get better.
Yeah.
All I have to do is just keep trying, and that's what belonging meant, because I get to belong. And like the guys who I thought were amazing, they didn't give me any shit. They were nothing but encouraging. So it was just a great atmosphere. So that's really, in a moment, I was like, I'm going to do this for the rest of my life.
Right. It's like hang out with great people who are also brilliant, and then try to figure out this thing that's really challenging for how simple it is. And all I have to do is just keep coming and trying, and everyone's like there and ready for me. And
and you will get better.
You will get better. Yeah, it's one of the only skills that people ever learn, or art forms that people practice and pursue, that you have to be bad at in front of an audience. Like, you're not in your room practicing the magic trick before you unveil it. You're doing it in front of the audience,
It's funny because I was bad because I didn't understand some things. Like, I was always talented, but that talented wasn't very useful in improv. It's like you had a certain mental understanding for what was going on and how to be mentally free enough to respond honestly. By the time like the victim's family was running pretty good, I remember a guy like Tallarico comes in, and he's like 19, and out of the gate he was just funny. And I'm like, fuck this kid. He's 19, and out of the gate, he's just funny all the time.
Yeah.
Like, screw this guy. Because I sucked for years until I didn't.
Right. What made the difference for you? Was there any particular thing that that flipped your understanding or your approach, or was it just a gradual, like, you are building neural pathways and that's just the way that it goes?
It was a gradual thing. It was just like I got on a really good team, surrounded by great guys, and we'd go to class and we'd do our show once a week, and then we'd hang out all week and we'd talk about it and argue about it. So it was always on mind. It was always a work in progress. To me, that's what the process was for me. The playing on stage, to me, was just like a blip in the process. The process is actually just constantly thinking about it and sharing it with others, and just like slowly getting better. Where I considered myself functional by the time I was 26. But then by the time I was 27, I started teaching. Because it started changing, not exponentially, but approaching that. I got better pretty fast, because there were different realizations along the way, right? Because it seemed like you'd be working your ass off, and then you find like you're not getting any better, and it's pissing you off. And then one night you say, fuck it, and you lose your shit, and then everything works.
Yeah.
And you're like,
Yeah.
what the hell happened? Oh, that's right. I was thinking too hard. And I wasn't really realizing that I'd already done the training, so that the training wasn't really coming through because I was still trying to get ahead of myself. Got it. And then I'd do it again.
Right.
I'd learn those lessons and then start again on what's the next thing I want to work on. Start overthinking that. And 2 years later, get all pissed off with the art and myself and have some night where I'm just like, fuck it, I'm going to quit after the show. And then the show goes great. And you're just like, what the hell just happened? It's like, oh, right. That lesson I keep fucking learning to not think so damn much.
Yeah, my brain has to get to a fuck it place so that I'm not scrutinizing every move and that I'm not drifting away from listening and connecting to my scene partner because I'm like in favor of like selecting my smart move that I'm going to do or the right play or whatever. All that goes out the window when you say fuck it, and then boom, you're present and you're reacting and it's great.
That's the thing. It's super hard to accept the fact that, like when someone says don't think, it's just like, what do you mean don't think? Because literally you can't not think.
Right.
Your brain's always thinking. So you can't not think. So what do you mean don't think? It means just don't focus on your shit. It's just like we can't choose to stop thinking, but we can choose where we focus.
Mm-hmm.
We can choose where we place our focus. The problem on stage is people, when you're thinking on stage, you're trying to be better than you are. Like who you are is what your brain gives you in your first reaction. That's who you are right now in this moment. Go with it. If you try to be more than that, you go into your head, you don't accept the first thing your brain gives you, and you start looking for something better because you've judged the first thing as no good. And now you're in your head, and now you didn't hear something else, and now you're just getting worse and worse.
Right.
But it's hard to do that when you've also learned that but thinking is super helpful. It's like thinking keeps me from sticking my hand in the fire again. I mean, thinking has helped me over the years. It's, yeah, but you have to not think sometimes. You have to just, and I've done it it's funny because I didn't absolutely give up thinking all the time while I played until I was like 47.
Wow.
It's like I knew it and I was aware of it, but I always kind of I thought the idea was I have to be able to think really hard while I'm functioning out here. Right, so be able to present in a functional way while still being able to think like crazy. And that, literally at one point in my life, I had a headache for 2 years. And I was convinced it's because that's what I was doing.
Wow.
And it wasn't until, I can tell you that story. It's a good little story.
Yeah.
I've been teaching this stuff for years, but I know that I'm thinking while I play because I could. I could be, and you wouldn't see it so much because I'd be perfectly functional out here, but I was thinking. When Heather asked me to do the first cage match with her, I'm just like, it was like, at the time I was like 47, right? And this is like Wednesday night after I've been teaching. So I get there about 11, right? The show goes up at like 11:30 and I'm married. I got 2 kids. This is late at fucking night. And the show doesn't wind up going up till like midnight or something. And so I get there and I'm talking to Heather. I'm like, look, I'll play, but I'm not going to try. Because I'm just too fucking tired. And what that meant for me was I'm not going to think. It's like I'm too tired to do that thing where I, try and I think and play. But I'll play, and I think we'll be fine. And so I played, and the show went great. And we wind up winning the first cage match, but I didn't expect. I always thought all cage matches were bought. But apparently that one, you could just win it.
Yeah.
So we did. And we came back the next week, and the same thing. Too tired, can't try, but I'll play. And this happened for like 3 weeks until I realized, oh, right, I'm just playing. I'm not thinking. I'm just saying the first thing that fucking occurs to me, like I teach, right? And it actually works. And so from then on, I haven't thought on stage since.
That's incredible. That made your headaches stop that you were experiencing?
No. What made my headache stop? I mean, I went to like a neurologist. I had CAT scan. I mean, I had a bad headache for like 2 years. What ultimately fixed it was diet. I had too much sugar.
Gotcha. not enough vape juice, apparently.
Yeah, there you go.
If we were to zoom in on your internal mental process during all of those years of shows where you were, as you called it, doing the thing, where you think about your moves and whatever.
Yeah.
What does that inner dialogue look like? Or what did your sort of like Terminator scan sheet look like? What were you thinking about in those moments or those moves?
I was basically going over everything I knew formally about improv in the moment as it was happening. Because your brain, can do stuff very quickly without you being completely conscious of it. You can be somewhat conscious of it as you're just like, all right, like I heard the first line, I had my response, we're continuing the scene, but now part of me is focused on, it's this type of scene, my experience is that it goes this way, so I want to move it that way. I'm likely to say things like A, B, or C, so I have options of what I might say or where I might take it. And literally, my brain's just thinking about it. Because I was good enough where I was out here functioning and staying in the moment and staying in the scene, but you can also, you can do those two things at once. You can also be thinking while you're functioning out here. Once you're good enough at the basic thing of being out here, you can be functioning. You can be thinking. I remember I did someone else's show. It was like a one-man show, and you had to memorize like 50 pages. It was like an hour and a half monologue, and I did a few hundred of this show to the point where I could literally be doing the show, and sometimes I would do this just for fun. I would be doing the show and just do a math problem in my head.
Whoa!
My mouth would just keep spilling out the lines and the performance because you'd done it hundreds of times. But then I could also just say, all right, what's 63 times 79? Let's see if I can do that real quick. I can't do it real quick, but I can do it. And it was sort of like that. But again, it's not the way to do it.
Right.
It's a way I was able to do it, but it wasn't the best way to do it. It actually got in my way.
Yeah.
Because inevitably, to the degree that I was thinking, I wasn't listening. Some part of me wasn't hearing something because my mind was divided. So when I got rid of that, then it's just like, now I hear everything.
Yeah, amazing. And do you feel like your choices now that bubble up on stage, do they feel more surprising to you because of that? Because you're in like this freer place where you're not analyzing based on like some type of internal flow chart?
The only time they surprise me is when I go with something that I don't know why my brain gave it to me.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Like usually when my brain gives me something, I immediately recognize why and its value, and I just say it. But sometimes your brain will offer you something, and part of you is like, what the fuck is that? And it'd be real easy just to stop and start thinking. But I'm just like, no, just say it.
Yeah.
And I will. I'll just say whatever it is. And more often than not, a second or two or just a couple moments later, I go, oh, right. Internally. Just like I catch up with what my brain had already figured out. I hadn't gotten there yet. But I said it, and then I'm like, oh, right. That does make sense.
Yeah. Do you have an example from a recent show where that's happened, where your brain gave you a left field choice and you just went with it?
The only one that I can remember clearly, which is the one I use when I teach or when I make this point, is me and Heather were doing a show, and I remember the suggestion was pumpernickel. And my mind immediately went Rumpelstiltskin. And I'm like, what the fuck is that? What the fuck is Rumpelstiltskin? So I just said no, and we did a scene, and it came time to edit, and my mind again was like Rumpelstiltskin. And I'm like, no, I'm not doing Rumpelstiltskin. So we did some other scene, right? And this goes on for like 4 scenes, where the scene, time to edit, my mind is screaming Rumpelstiltskin, till finally I'm like, fuck it. And Heather starts some scene where she's like, ladies and gentlemen of the UN. And I just go, I'm Rumpelstiltskin. And the audience breaks up. And in that moment right after, I was like, oh, right. Pumpernickel, Rumpelstiltskin. They just sound similar. That's why my brain did that. It's no big deal. But I was fighting it. And also, as it happens, this is just kind of fortunate. Now I'm shouting out that I'm Rumpelstiltskin at the UN. And I'm pretty sure the deal with Rumpelstiltskin was he doesn't tell people his name.
Exactly. Yeah, you have to guess it.
Learn out, I'm Rumpelstiltskin. It's like, all right, we don't know. To me, it's like our brain is aware of everything we've ever known, right? It's got all that in there. And when you encounter a stimuli, basically a current fires across everything in your brain and gives you the answer. It gives you your reaction, right? And the hardest thing for us to do is just to hear and go with that first basic, simple reaction. We automatically start trying to think our way to something else. Whereas your brain knows everything. You only know what you're focused on. You can only access your brain and certain elements, certain pieces of information at certain times, but your brain here's everything, here's the answer. And then when you go no, it's like, all right, you're on your own now. Because I gave you what I thought, so now you figure out how to be funnier, and that's when you're almost guaranteed to fuck it up. Because no one's funnier than they are in a moment.
The old truth and comedy chestnut, like an honest, real reaction goes a hell of a lot farther than someone trying to be funny or trying to spin something, and then it's like, okay, yeah, that was hokey, or we saw the joke coming, or whatever, or it sold out the truth of the scene, you know.
I think the main thing is just that, what you said, the honest, just what's your first reaction? That's what, like, saying the truth in comedy, it's funny because that can be taken in different ways, and it is in weird ways. It's like, but you say something like, life is funny enough, you don't have to invent things. I'm like, most of life isn't funny. Most of life is boring as shit. So it's not true that all of your life is funny. It's like, no, some moments in life are funny. So let's look at those moments, the ones that are funny. Why are they funny? Let's examine that. But as far as the truth being your honest reaction, if you go with your honest reaction, no matter what it is, no matter if it winds up being wrong, it's valid because it represents you. It represents you, your perspective of the world. So it's just like, again, even if you're wrong, then you learn that you're wrong. I remember I had a scene that taught me that. I was doing a class with Mick Napier, and I'm on stage with Esther Joy Peters, and we're doing this scene where it's like a boyfriend and girlfriend, and the boyfriend comes home at like 2 a.m, and she's like, where were you? You should have called. Now, this is boyfriend and girlfriend. And I'm just thinking, I was out with the guys. I didn't do anything wrong. There's nothing wrong with me staying out till 2 a.m. I'm a fucking adult. And in my mind, I'm like, I am now doing this scene for all men everywhere. I have to win this scene just to make this point. And so I continue this scene, and she's just killing me. She's just killing me. Because she's right. All I had to do was call, right? And by the end of the scene, where I'm fighting tooth and nail trying to win this thing, I'm like, fine, what did you do all night? And she was like, worry. It's like lights. It's like, God damn it. So, the class cracks up, we walk off stage and everybody's laughing. And I'm just like, yeah, that was a funny scene we just did. I'm gonna go think about some shit.
Right.
'Cause apparently I'm wrong about some shit.
I'm gonna go call my girlfriend.
Girlfriend. To me, that's a great use of improv, is to teach you something. It's like, oh, I'm wrong.
It can be a proxy for that. Like, and it's, to me, that's where it really mirrors kind of like ancient theater practices, like people enacting things in their lives in order to figure out how to do them, or to have these cathartic moments where it's like, hey, I hate what that guy just did. I'm going to pretend I'm him and show you what he did. It really hasn't changed much in terms of that. It's like we're still doing scenes about our insensitive therapist and scenes about our mom who doesn't call before she visits, and it's like all of that stuff,
We repeat certain scenes, certain themes over and over and over again because they're, uniquely important to the human condition, right? We will be doing scenes about someone betraying someone else forever.
Right.
Because that's never going to end. And that's the thing about improv, you got to realize in doing it, because you're going to wind up exploring similar things, playing similar characters, but there are only so many characters that exist, and there are only so many things that sort of go wrong to explore. People keep thinking, I want to do something never been done before, problem no one's ever had. It's like, guess what? Then no one will recognize it.
Yeah.
It will look insane. It's like we laugh because we recognize ourselves in the thing that's happening on stage.
Right. Stand-up comedy doesn't start with, when you're on Jupiter and there's that gas that it's like, no,
No.
we don't.
But I mean, that's always the great example. Just like, yeah, here's the shared experience. And in improv, you're sort of creating that shared experience in one sense. Like classically, a herald, for my money, was supposed to be the opening creates the reality that you're about to explore. Right? Here's the rules of this reality spread out in this opening. So that's what we're now going to take apart in our scene work and games. Right? So you've basically shown, here's what we're going to examine, here's us examining it, here's how we end it. Like, I know everyone's been in a relationship for the most part. So when we do relationship scenes, or like a boyfriend-girlfriend, which again, I've heard people, I never want to do that scene again. I'm like, really? Yeah, because no one ever is going to relate to that again. Those things are going to repeat forever. The thing that makes improv infinite, the possibilities infinite, are the details. Because you can constantly be changing the details and the way you do it and the things that you come up with. That's what changes. But the underlying form of it, the underlying thing that's going on, that's going to stay the same forever.
Yeah. Those specific details, those are the individual gift that you bring as the one human being who has your specific trillion details that are in your brain. Like, that's where your voice makes, that's where your comedian shows up, is in those specifics.
Right.
Let's circle back to IO for a second. What was your growth like on Victim's Family? Could you feel yourself finding your own superpowers as your role on the team, or unlocking your own potential in certain ways? Did you feel yourself growing while it was happening?
It was weird because, again, like I said, I was thrown up early, and I sat in with one other team that was just, to me, it was lightning fast. It was, I didn't speak in the first two shows I did. I just stood in the opening line and did the physical, and then went to the back line and stood there for the rest of the show. So that was no fun. And to me, like I didn't get it. To me, it was just moving at a pace where I couldn't follow anything. So I didn't feel like I was learning there. I was just sort of experiencing something that was like uncomfortable. But Noah, the late Noah Gregoropoulos, like in the second show I played like a tree or a hooker in the background of some scene. Just
either a tree or a hooker.
Something like that. It was just to do something on stage that wasn't just standing there. 'Cause that's back when we all stood in the line behind the scenes. And he thought that was great. You're doing something to support the thing on stage without having to, to try and get the stage time or steal the attention or anything like that. You're just trying to support. So he picked me for what became the first version of The Victim's Family, which was like, I don't remember everybody. I think it was Pat McCartney, me, Jody Lennon, Noah Gregoropoulos, Matt Need, Eric, someone, and one other girl. I can't remember.
There's always an Eric, and there's always one other girl. Yeah.
Yeah. And that team wasn't super good. And I don't think I learned much on that team, but I got to, I was actually in scenes and saying things and basically learning how to put together a herald. As that team slowly fell apart and was replaced with people, you're slowly looking at, and then there was the thing where Blue Velveeta sort of left the Improv Olympic and took their space in the basement of Milano's. So Sharna had to find a new space, which became the Wrigley side. And then Blue Velveeta was gone, and that was the best team. And for my money, still the best strict Herald team, hands down.
What made them the best for you?
They were just great at it. They could do great openings. They could do great scenes. They had that form down better than anybody else. I mean,
yeah.
And those guys were smart and talented. A lot of good players on there, and they just had it down. Ultimately, I preferred the shows the family did once we got good, but that's because we broke the Herald. We broke it open. We stopped doing the Herald in a strict form.
Was that a conscious choice, or was that just your style evolved that way and you went with it?
It became our evolving style. I don't think we were like, let's break this open. We're just like, we were fucking around.
Yeah.
Like, what happens if we do this? What happens if we do that?
Can we talk about that? What do you mean? Because I don't know, I've never gotten to see your heralds. What do you mean you broke it open? What were you changing about it?
Well, it became like I remember like when we were in a herald slot, and what we were doing, as far as we knew, we were calling it a herald. It was just being called a herald, but it really wasn't. I remember one night, like the suggestion was assassination. And Besser got in the back of the stage and stood up like this with a rifle. And I said, because it was unsupported. No one else joined him in doing that. And then I said, hey, have you seen Besser? He's really pissed. And then he shot me. And then the show became, the whole show became, why was Besser pissed at me? Why did he shoot me? Right? What happened that led up to that? What happened in the aftermath of that? And in doing so, we were parroting the JFK assassination, me in a car, and doing all that, and doing talk shows about conspiracy theories about what had happened between me and Besser. So the whole show became this whole piece on its own. It was consistent in what it was trying to do, but it didn't follow a herald form at all. Like there were no games in it really. We were just, what's the next thing we can do that fits into this puzzle we've created? And so that was a great show. And when we eventually sort of pieced out what we were doing, we came up with the deconstruction in the movie. Because our heralds were actually sort of like herald deconstruction movies. Because we were using all the other techniques that we used in the other pieces just in the herald. Mm-hmm. And what we did is we pulled that out and made separate pieces out of those. Which then, when we didn't do them in our heralds became pretty dry. Because when we first did three-man rituals, which was all three forms back to back to back off a single suggestion, the herald was the first thing, and it was always like the weakest. We don't want to do all the shit we used to do because we're going to do that in the deconstruction and then in the movie. Mm-hmm. So our heralds just became pretty flat again. But it was during that time, and really what it was the guys I was playing with. I mean, I learned from Dell, like Sharna was a good, supportive level 1 teacher, right? Level 2, you're basically taught, and I was on a team before I took level 2. So I didn't even know, I was like on a team 6 weeks after I got there, or I was performing 6 weeks after I got there. But then I took level 2 with Noah, and basically then you learn the herald, and then you have Dell. That's what it was back then. It was like Sharna, Noah, then Dell. Mm-hmm. And Dell just this creepy old man who Dell never specifically taught me anything, I don't think. But he was the only teacher I ever had who could consistently, occasionally, truly inspire you. Just get your mind going in a certain direction where you had to figure it out, but it was just inspiring. And that was just a unique thing with him. He never sat me down and basically said, here's how you do this thing. Right? He would just say, all right, I'll tell you what, I'm going to say something weird. Then that's going to mean something to you that then you're going to bring to life.
Right. Yeah. Do you remember any of those golden nuggets that he shit out in front of you?
The one I remember, the one that just like sort of struck me that I remember, was he just came in one day to teach, and the first thing he was like, as I was going home last night, there was a house that was on fire. It was burning. It was really up in flames. And there were people across the street sort of standing there watching this house burn. And so I stood there for a bit with them and watched the house burn. And it occurred to me that I wonder if this is what it was like for cavemen. Just standing in the distance, watching something burn whenever lightning struck. All right, do something with that. Right? And so, but to me, just the image struck me. I was like, yeah, it is like, because when you start thinking about it, it's like, yeah, we're descendants of caveman. And yes, why do we stand there and gawk at fire? Mm-hmm. Like, I enjoy a fire. I enjoy sitting there in front of a nice, good fire and looking into the fire. What the hell am I looking at? It's fire, right? But I don't know. It's doing this fire shit. It's like, what's wrong with us? How is that put into us? And so saying something weird like that does all of that in my mind.
Yeah.
right? So I wind up finding something out of that. But that was sort of how he taught. I mean, he said some smart things, like, play to the height of your intelligence, play to the smartest person in the room, assume the audience is smarter than you. It's just, useful artistic things. But they were like paradigms. It wasn't so much, it was more, his way of teaching was just to say weird, interesting things, because he was just he's a brilliant, weird man. But it was the team I was on. That's where I learned the most. Those guys were good, and then you hang out with them all the time, and you're in the bar, and you're doing bits, and the more you do it, bits are just mini games.
Mm-hmm.
The more you do it, you're inevitably, I'm discovering the patterns and the feel of those patterns, because some guys, it's funny, because like, I remember McKay, it's like, when he first started playing on The Victim's Family, it didn't work great, right? Because I don't think we got him. And I don't think he was really able to convey to us what the hell it was that he was doing.
Interesting.
Right? And I think in the course of that, I think he figured out how to convey what he was doing. And we figured out, holy shit, this guy's doing some pretty amazing shit. Right? We're just not getting it. And then when we started to get it, it was like, oh, this guy is fucking brilliant. And for my money, he's probably the funniest guy that I've ever. As far as like that sort of just invention shit, he's crazy off the charts with that.
Just coming up with a way to use an idea in an unexpected, clever way, you mean?
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
Yeah, out of left fields, super smart, super quick,
Mm-hmm.
Always on it. He's done stuff over the years. It's just like, I remember he was doing an interview, and this was after Anchorman, and he's doing some morning show or something, where this woman is just like, it's like, so, you directed and wrote Anchorman? Yeah, it's going well. And he's like, so, what can you tell us about Will Ferrell? And it's just like, in my mind, I could see it occurred to him, but he was just he was like, no, he's great. He's a great guy. But basically this woman was pushing it. And I was like, you've got McKay right there. And you're treating him like, some sidekick to Will Ferrell. He wrote and directed the goddamn film. It's like, stop what you're doing. But eventually I could see it coming too, because I know him. And he's sitting there and he goes, well, and I'm like, oh shit, this woman's fucked, because he's about to do something that's not true. And sure enough, he starts Will has a collection of wild birds, rare birds, that he absolutely loves. He loves, it's crazy. He's got this turkey vulture that I wanted to use. He starts telling this story, and this woman just buys it all.
Uh-huh.
It's picked up by other news outlets. There's a big outcry about Will Ferrell's treatment of rare birds, right? And it's all because this woman poked the bear with McKay.
Right.
And it's like, that serves you right. Yeah. And it's like, serves all you right. It's like,
right.
I directed the damn film. Stop asking me about Will.
Yeah. It's the best kind of like harmless prank too. It's like, yeah, fuck you guys. Okay, what can I tell you about him? All right.
As I think about it, he's got these rare birds. It's like, and I knew it, because I know him. And I'm just like, oh God,
Yeah.
this is hysterical.
When Kakowski was on the podcast, he was talking about like weird, like McKay like throwing a stuffed body off of a building and stuff, like making it look like someone jumped. Were you a part of all of those shenanigans as well?
I was a part of some of them, not all of them. At the time, like I was still living with my parents.
Oh, whoa.
I was 27 years old, and I was still living with my parents in Oak Park, which, I have great parents, and they had plenty of room in their house, and I don't have to pay rent. And
yeah, amazing.
It's like, why would I move out? And I think when I was 27, I was like, I think I need to move out. I just think there's some things in life I need to learn. And my parents were like, why? Why would you have to move out? What do you need to learn? And I'm just like, I don't know. 'Cause I didn't go away to college, and I'm 27 years old, and I live with you. And it was Flynn who said, just come down here, live with me. And so I said, okay. And so I went down, and Flynn became my roommate. And that was the first time I didn't live at home. But that's when I became more available to take part in all the weird fucking things that were going. Like I wasn't there for when Adam threw a dummy off the roof of a building pretending it was him. The whole thing was like you couldn't get away with some of that shit today.
Totally.
Basically, him inviting people to come watch him kill himself. I'm just like, yeah, that's not going to fly. Dell was there because it was a creepy fucking idea. So of course Dell was there,
Right.
And he loved it. And they had other weird, like the original Upright Citizens Brigade. They had that show called Virtual Reality, which I thought was brilliant, where they just take an audience member through the streets of Chicago while they're filming it, meanwhile presenting the rest of the show, sketches and stuff like that on stage. They'd take this person to like dangerous fucking places and barely get back, and the person's just probably like, "Wow, that felt so real." It's like that was so real. You are lucky to be back in this fucking building.
And what were they doing with them on camera? Just showing them these places, or was
weird, different things. I don't remember all of them. I remember one where they had some apartment rigged, where like Rick Roman would show up like in his underwear with tinfoil on his head and be like, "Welcome, I'm," what was the name he always? "I'm Edward Lowe, inventor of the kitty box litter," or something like that. It's just something weird would happen. And then all right, we gotta go. We gotta go.
Weird.
Yeah, it was just weird and crazy. And then they'd come back and show the film of the whole thing. It was just such a weird take on doing stuff.
Yeah, I love it. It's like a haunted house the size of a city, a comedic haunted house that spans Chicago. And but I just love hearing stuff like that because a lot of this stuff, you couldn't do today. But what a fun time to be young and doing stuff and to be inspired you can go see that one night, be a part of something the next night. You're doing your own teams. Like, it just seems like such a fertile, creative, artistic time.
Well, and when I was coming through, it was for my money, although different people will claim it for different reasons, I suppose. For my money, like, it was the golden age of improv in Chicago, was that time, basically in the 90s, because Second City still hadn't opened the floodgates. Second City would hire like 2 of their waiters every year to join one of their tour co's, and the process was years through Tierco to get to some other stage to eventually maybe get to the main stage. So there was a bunch of players that had nowhere to go, nowhere else to go. So they stayed with their teams or their groups at the Annoyance, at the Improv Olympic, and it was primarily at the Annoyance and the Improv Olympic because there weren't a lot of other places you could go. So they just kept getting better.
Yeah.
I remember like the last audition I went to for the Second City touring companies, which was the last. I swore I'd never go again after that just because I'd never seen it up close how it went. But they hired 2 of their waiters and who they made audition twice for 2 days. It was like me, Ian Roberts, Matt Besser, Ali Farinaki. It was the family auditioned. And you got Dave Keckner, Brian Stack, Andy Richter, Susan Messing,
Amazing.
Andy Stack. It's just like, name probably 40 or 50 of the best players you can imagine probably ever did it. And they auditioned.
Right.
None of them got in. And they hired 2 of their waiters.
That's wild, man.
So I was like, okay, fuck this. Which I probably shouldn't have done because Second City was eventually when Kelly Leonard got there, he was the one who opened up the floodgates. He was just smart enough to be like, look, this town is just loaded with fucking people who have been doing nothing but like sharpening their teeth.
Right.
It's like, let's get them in here. And so they burnt through those 40 or 50 people in a handful of years. They got in Turco, pretty much went pretty quick to the main stage, off to SNL.
Right.
It's like, yeah.
But you had gotten to a fuck that place point, and so you never auditioned again. Do you have regrets about that?
Sure. I badmouthed that place. I badmouthed the Players Workshop. I badmouthed Second City. And it was really, I wasn't saying anything that I think was untrue. Mm-hmm. It just wasn't a good business thing to be doing for your life. But yeah, I never because no one I know is a rich improviser.
Right.
I mean, being good at this didn't get anyone I know rich.
Right.
They used that skill to do something else, primarily to create sketch, to do sketch shows, to do characters, to then write movies or shows. That's what made them rich. But I didn't want to do that because I wanted to be the first to go straight from improv to the stars or to wherever, and it just didn't happen.
Yeah. What was to the stars for you? Did you have dreams of SNL or writing your own movies?
Sure.
Or yeah.
Oh, sure. But by the time I burnt that bridge to Second City is like the pipeline from Chicago to SNL.
Yeah.
Sure, that didn't sit well with SNL, right?
Yeah.
It's like, oh, the guy Second City hates because he's always bad mouthing them. It's like, yeah, let's pass on that guy.
Yeah. Let's not hire that personal cancer into our tight-knit family here.
Yeah.
I want to circle back for a second because you brought up one of the things that Del talked about being playing to the height of your intelligence or playing to the top of your intelligence. It's something you do incredibly well, and I want to drill down on it for a second because I think students sometimes misunderstand that phrase.
For part 2 of this episode, go to yesalso.supercast.com. If you like this podcast and you want double the content, head over to yesalso.supercast.com and subscribe. You can also help us out for free by subscribing to us on YouTube and talking us up to your improv communities. If you have a question that you'd like us to answer in one of our Q&A episodes, or a topic that you think would make a great bonus episode, put it in a 5-star review. If you're a theater who would like to host us for a live recording and improv show, let us know at yesalsopod@gmail.com. A very special thanks to our producer, Ryan Rosenberg, audio and video editor, Brian Kessler, and Britt Faye, who does our marketing. Thanks for listening, and we will see you next week. No, we won't, Suzi. That's not how podcasts work. They won't even see us. They will listen to us, so it's actually the opposite of both things you said. Thanks for listening, and you will listen to us next week. Maybe. We don't know.